kind of wanted to shift gears and talk about like where things are heading or where they should be heading. I mean, one of the things that was surfaced in one of the chats there, we've probably alluded to it a few times, and I think you've expressed some discontent with the idea of moving back to sort of a agricultural society where people are closer to their survival sort of behaviors, right? So digging a well, farming for food, hunting.
I'll happily not do any of that.
Yeah.
Having done it enough in my early life.
You farmed?
Yeah. Well, my family's my mother's family are farmers, right?
What'd you farm?
I didn't personally do any of it, but I was around farmers.
So how do you know you don't like it?
Well, having closely observed other people doing it, I'm not interested in.
But they're basically doing it for economic reasons, right?
Yeah.
Not
but I'm also not interested in doing it for subsistence reasons. Well, I certainly hunted a lot of animals. I mean, I killed a bunch of deer. And
what'd you use?
Like just a rifle.
Okay.
I can't remember what. Okay. Can't remember the exact.
Like a bolt action type thing, or what?
Well, yeah, bolt action. Killed a lot of rabbits with like just a bolt action 22. But again, I have no interest in doing that now, or anything related to rural life, which just doesn't interest me. I guess I don't like. I think the point of having cities is so you don't have to be limited by a rural community. Which is basically
so like, limited how?
Well, you're around the same assholes all the time, right? And like,
well, cities too different. I mean, effectively, I interact with the same people.
Yeah,
most of the days.
Like you have a broader stream of people you can interact with.
Kind of an illusion, though, right?
Well, I mean, there's more people physically around that you can encounter.
Yeah.
So there's more chance of.
But are they any less of an asshole than the rural neighbor that you are trying to escape in this scenario?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
They're less assholes than the rural neighbors.
I think in a city, based on my experience of living in extreme rural communities, including like a literal island. There's vastly more interesting people in a city, and I would happily die without ever living in a rural community again. I just have no interest in it, or being a farmer, which
well, okay, so let's not let me try and reframe it. It's not about going back towards something, but more how, like, so the word I would use is more like decentralization, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be rural necessarily, but also this highly dense, highly urbanized situation where food is trucked in from way out, and just kind of that setup, and maybe projecting cities a bit forward. There's a guy on YouTube called Leonardo of Biz, which I think I mentioned a few times, and he was kind of active during COVID times, and he was kind of doing these dark satire cartoons of kind of Wojack memes, but also kind of like just playing on this sentiment of "you will eat the bugs" type memes. I don't know. Is this making any sense to you?
Not really familiar.
So he was playing off of some of the kind of conspiratorial themes that were arising during COVID, kind of in this vein of the Great Reset, right?
Okay, yeah.
And the general what's the word? Not apocalyptic, dystopian future that he was laying out is basically this gig economy future where you sleep in a pod, and you're essentially an independent contractor where like on paper it's like ultimate convenience, and you can just Uber foods to your doorstep and whatnot.
Yeah.
But in reality, you're basically just like a slave in a rat maze, right?
Yeah.
So that was kind of the image he was painting, and kind of narrating some scenarios around this. Is this making any sense, or am I not explaining it very well?
Well, you're explaining it well, but like to me, being a farmer is being a slave in a way.
Okay, so let's ditch the farmer aspect, right? Yeah. Because theoretically we could automate foods.
Yeah.
To some degree, right? We don't need to be. I don't think we actually need to be spending our entire lives around it, right? But theoretically, you could have a personal garden that grows your crops, right?
Yeah.
Project maybe a bit forward, and you have a farming humanoid robot that's just programmed to run the garden, right?
So automating agricultural labor, I think would be good, so we don't have to like do it, I guess.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah. But I want to get back to this because I like the idea of preferring rural communities seems like instinctively insane to me, having experienced them at great length. And like rural communities are the most conformist and boring limitations of any experience that can be imagined, I guess. Well, I mean, that's why they're full of, in practice, they tend to be full of crime, drug addiction, all kinds of social problems, alcoholism, right?
But so we're looking at this isn't inherent to rural communities, right? I mean, I feel like this is almost more inherent to the economic system within which.
Well, yeah, but you still, I think even if you go back like 100, 200 years, like, well, I mean, that's sort of the question. Like, why would you want to move to a city versus like, I don't know, living in a rural community? Well, because in a rural community, there's nothing to do, right? And you're limited to you're inherently limited by a conservative social scene, which if you don't vibe with, then like, what are you gonna do, right? Because like there's no one around, there's nothing.
I mean there's less niches, right?
Yeah, I mean, okay, you can, I don't know, like you can have some pet project or hobby or something, but you're still limited to being in an obscure location, I guess.
But so in today's interconnected world where you can network with people living far away, you can hop on the Shinkansen and go to arbitrary places.
Yeah. Well, again, that's like Japan, right? But if you're like in countries where you can't really do that as easily, like, can you do that in the US without a car? Like, not really. And certainly if you're, there's a lot of countries where you can't really super easily do that. So, that's one of the reasons. Well, I mean, yeah, Japan is a small island country, so you can more easily kind of maybe zip around. But
yeah, I mean, in this context, it's why does everything need to center around Tokyo, I guess?
Yeah, but I feel like there's such a, like, the idea that there's like, well, first of all, like, I don't think nature exists. Like, I don't think there's such a thing as like there's not, like, I think this is the biggest fantasy that people have, is that like, well, one of the fantasies is that you can be more or less connected to nature. Well, like, not only does it not exist, like, the geological record is like unending chaotic devastation, I guess. So there's, not only is there no, like, there is no harmony of nature, because all we observe from the geological record is constant devastation, regardless of, well, certainly before we existed.
Mm-hmm.
So all we observe is things constantly being destroyed by either ice ages or climate change, which again, we didn't exist, so we had nothing to do with, or other atmospheric changes, which are completely just occurring, right?
Yeah.
And then certain things either, well, like, first of all, everything goes extinct, right?
Mm-hmm.
All species.
Well, what's the stat? Like 99% of species that have existed,
they all go,
are gone.
Yeah. So like that's what they do, right? So species go extinct. So it's not like there's some. So like I just feel like it's such a weird fantasy that there's like some coherent like nature.
Yeah,
because like there isn't, right?
Yeah.
Like,
well, so what I think what's actually happening in the psyche is again this fantasy of greener pastures that the human mind is always conjuring.
So first of all, like, we didn't evolve. Like, agriculture itself is the most unnatural development of. Like, we evolved to be hunter gatherers that just follow food, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So agriculture itself is the most technological and unnatural development that could ever. Well, and that's why it changed our, it changed our bones, it changed our teeth, it changed like, so as soon as you have agriculture, you're already living in a highly unnatural, to the extent that matters. I mean, I don't think it matters, but I'm just saying, like, the idea that you're like reconnecting with nature by being a farmer, that's the most bizarre idea. Like, I can't understand.
So let's ditch the farmer, let's ditch the reconnecting with nature. What is called
I'm just
food,
trying to, like, do you understand? Like, I'm just trying to go down the list here.
But
like,
I'm trying to do the opposite.
Okay,
right?
yeah, but because I see people repeating these same ideas.
Well, they're just cultural memes,
well,
right?
But there's nothing
like I think the sentiment. I understand where do you understand where the sentiment's coming from?
Not really, man.
Not
because
really.
I think the sentiment is coming from people that haven't personally had to do any of this stuff. Like, they probably haven't personally hunted. They probably haven't personally seen what agriculture implies. I'm not talking about having like a urban garden or something. I'm talking about like actually worrying about, crop yields. That's going to either, I don't know, like, almost everyone I know that really has experience with this stuff is like, yeah, nah, like, cities are great. Like, it makes way more sense than, I mean, not saying they don't have problems, but I just think the idea that there's, well, like, the main thing is just that there's nothing underlying any of this. Like, again, humans didn't evolve to be agricultural. They didn't evolve to, well, that's why, like, the Neolithic period was so, like, violent, because, like, once you started having settled communities, then, like, neuroticism started developing. So you started having people occupying settled tracts of land and building towns. So as soon as that happened, you started so they started coming into conflict with each other.
Yeah.
So, you'd have like the, I don't know, goats cult town, and then there's like the, I don't know, sheep cult town, and they hate each other, and they're like having these like extremely brutal wars. And I think it was the Neolithic period was when like 90% of human males were like killed or something. There's like some crazy, insane level of butchery that hadn't previously existed, I guess.
So yeah, I mean the neuroticism is an interesting point, and I shared a clip earlier from a different podcast where they attributed neuroticism arising from basically a disconnection from, I don't know, the cosmos, right? Or disconnection from, I don't know, spiritual practice, right? And basically, yeah, if you fixate on your local soap opera, essentially, right? Then you'll slowly get chewed up and eaten by conflicts arising from other
hunter-gatherers have low levels of neuroticism because they don't have money, they don't have really property.
Well,
in some cases they don't care about paternity. So what is there for them to be neurotic about, right?
Yeah. And I mean, all their actions have purpose because they're closely tied to their survival, right? They're not working for marketing.
They're tied to their survival, but they're also not really, like, the individual doesn't really matter in a way because so like they share, like if they're hunting, they just share the food, right?
Yeah.
And like, okay, if someone's like slightly better, okay, they might get a little bit more respect, but they still take care of the guy that's maybe like not super great because he's like still in the tribe, I guess. So, so yeah, they're comparatively less neurotic than people that have, that live in towns, I guess, right? So like the rural community of settled farmers that own land is massively more neurotic than the hunter-gatherer, like Bushmen or whatever.
Yeah. But okay, so let's back up here. Like rural and farming aside, like we are moving towards a future where your survival is increasingly defined by arbitrary economic circumstance.
Yeah, certainly.
In the same sort of way that fiat currency has no inherent value, right?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
And we're moving towards a future of increasing tightened means of control and censorship.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
So where this is going, a la Leonardo of Biz, is 3D printed smart cities in the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
Where, you're basically like working at an Amazon warehouse or something, right? Yeah. And, what passes for food is increasingly, well, I don't know about increasingly, you can make the argument it was never particularly good, but like, this is the "you will eat the bugs" meme, right? Like, well, the next step is...
What do you think people are eating McDonald's now, man? It's basically, chemical garbage anyway. So real
people are, but then there's also people who realize what's happening. And I think what happens is they have this kind of responsive disgust. Yeah. And they're like, okay, back to the basics, farming, hunting, right? So that's what's happening, right?
Oh, it is. I agree, but I want them to be more informed than that, I guess, like, because it doesn't, I think that's also a trap, and it also doesn't lead where they think it's going to lead.
But so, like, let's zoom out a bit and going back to the projection of greener pastures.
Cut this a bit. I got pissed really bad. I just drank a coffee before.
Sure,
Can we just like cut this out and then?
Yeah, we can cut this out.
Take a brief urination.
Yeah, probably just pause here.
Yeah.
So anyway, maybe re-engaging here. Yeah, so you said basically you want people to be more basically
I want them to be more critical, I guess. Yeah. I see people as being easily programmed by like reels and stuff. I'd say in practice, even from the group of people we know, like I very rarely hear anything that surprises me or that I can't easily trace to some source that I'm aware of. Yeah. Well, it's like a secondhand, like if you don't start looking at the, I don't know, genealogies of ideas, like where they come from, you're just gonna be like easily programmed by like whatever that comes up, right? So and I think because people don't read books, they don't know how to assess sources, like what's a primary source, what's a secondary source. So they're not really looking at where anything is coming from.
Yep.
So as I said, I just said in the chat, like, I don't see people actually being interested in anything they claim they're interested in. Because like, I don't see them talking about it. I guess like I'm not seeing people mentioning things they're allegedly interested in. So it's hard for me to, I don't know, assess it, I guess.
Right.
Well, as I said with music, like I don't see most people as being interested in music, I guess. I mean, they're interested in events related to music, or I don't know, social elements of music, but I don't see them as being that interested, again, unless they're like a composer or something. But they like it doesn't seem like terribly I don't know, detailed or anything. Like it doesn't seem like a deep interest. Seems like quite a shallow interest, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, the interest in the social scene around something rather than the thing itself, I guess, right?
That's kind of like surrogate activities or something, I want to say.
Is that necessarily bad? I mean, I guess they could be actually more accurate in describing their interests, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm actually interested in the people who go to these sorts of music events rather than the music itself. Yeah. Right.
I guess it's like a para activity or something. I guess like the interesting example of this for me is like the British hooligans. You know, the firms.
No.
Well, they're like supporters of like football, like soccer football.
Oh, teams. Yeah, sure. Yeah, but they're basically just there to fight.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So they're so in like the interesting thing is that like a lot of the time like the actual football soccer team will be like really low level, but like the firm associated with it will be like super high level. So they're like, so the para activity has like supplanted the supporting like sports, I guess.
Right.
But it's such a, like, it just seems so arbitrary. It's like, if you want to have like teams of people fighting, like you could do that about, I don't know, like cheese production or something. There's nothing, it doesn't even seem super linked to competitive sports, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, all these things are just outlets for basic primal drives that people that happen to conglomerate around certain things, whether it's, you know, slutty raver outfits at some EDM event or, you know, manly, I don't know, masculine aggression outlets at sporting events, right? Like, that's all it really is, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I mean. So they're like simple outlets for things rather than things in themselves, I guess, which is why they're not maybe.
And I'll just pull back on my slutty verbal usage. Let's say revealing clothing, not making clothing, not making a puritanical judgment, I guess. Just want to catch that.
Yeah. So I think there's. I feel like most people are not interested in anything they think they're interested in. They're just interested in like para activities related to it. Yeah.
That's yeah.
Well, I would apply this to anything. I mean, like I would say most people that are claim to be interested in, I don't know, like poetry or something, are in fact interested in para activities related to it. You know, like poetry scenes or like doing readings or something. But none of those things is actually the activity itself.
Right.
So, and certainly music, I would say, is the ultimate, a good example of that. Well, so if you read like Stockhausen's criticism of like Richie Houghton or something, it basically boils down to like, he doesn't seem interested in music.
Richie Houghton?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, I linked to that, right? So
okay, didn't catch it.
But it's basically like I think this was in the 90s where they played electronic music from the 90s and had like Stockhausen comment on it.
Who is Stockhausen?
We created electronic music, right?
Okay.
in the like 50s, right?
Okay.
Among other things, which among other
He was the first
extremely
person to put
well,
a
yeah. I mean,
808 beat.
he used machines and electronic devices to produce music.
Did that shit slap?
Is certainly striking.
Okay.
So from his perspective, he's like, well, like these, like Aphex Twin and Plastic Man. He's like, well, they don't seem to be developing music, right? Because he's like, oh, like the first 10 bars are like, repeating polyrhythms, and then he just brings in like he's just analyzing it from
like a musical theory perspective.
Well, yeah, because he's a musician, right? So that's what he does, right? So he's like, he's like, they seem unnecessarily repetitive and slow, right?
And
like, he's like, I'm not seeing an interest in music, right?
But I mean, they attracted a larger audience than.
Well, that's what he criticized them for. He's like, this may be popular in like, I don't know, a wine. Like he compares it to like a wine bar or something. He's like, I'm not sure what these ambient sounds from a wine bar have to do with electronic music or whatever, right?
But who's he to judge, right?
Again, he
like I didn't even know his name, right?
Yeah, but in practice, he did create the templates, which are then massively watered down by succeeding artists.
So define massively watered down, because if his shit was good, it'd be sampled now, right? And maybe it is, but
it is, but like, I think like in the sense of like actually having something which is formally and technically more sophisticated versus something which, again, I'm not saying like Aphex Twin music is bad. I mean, I think it's good, certainly, but I think that's the way, and like weirdly, like if you look at Aphex Twin's development, like he actually did go in the direction that Stockhausen kind of told him to. Like less repetition versus. I mean, again, it gets kind of into the technical weeds, but he sort of did. I think over time he was like, oh yeah, he's like kind of right. I mean, but I think he's operating on a level that very few people would be able to even perceive, much less.
Yeah, well, this gets into the like 200 IQ guy who's living as a farmer, right?
Yeah.
Territory where like you can be too smart for your own good, right?
Most things that I would consider innovative music, like almost everyone doesn't like, because it doesn't, again, it doesn't sound like.
Well, like what, Mars Bow, or what was that guy called? Mars Bow?
I mean mostly like actual composers that were aware of what they're doing. Like I don't think Merzbow is doing anything terribly technically sophisticated.
Right.
I mean, people that are aware that like they're like, oh, like Western music is based on a 12-tone scale. What if we like instituted, some other kind of scale and then reduced, I don't know, like they're doing very technical things because they actually know what's.
Yeah,
like they know where.
If you understand the rules, then you know how to break them.
So like, I'd hesitate to. Well, I don't know. Like, I don't know that much about Merzbow, but
I don't either.
It's much like, from what I've heard, it's much less sophisticated in the sense of like what, I don't know, Anton Webern or something, or like Stockhausen, or like Messiaen or something, who also used electronic instruments in I think the 30s or something. So that's what I mean. But again, like if you play this music for most people, they're like, what? Like, it doesn't sound like things that most people would want to listen to. But it, like, weirdly, it's closer to, I don't know, like Beethoven than like Merzbow or something is, right? So weirdly, the tradition of like Bach or something does turn into things that like people wouldn't maybe consider to have anything to do with it. Well, in the same way that like if you watch like a AI chess bot of like a very high level,
Right.
it like looks like it's making mistakes.
Right.
Because it's doing like it's thinking like, I don't know, 30, 50 moves in advance.
Yeah.
So it's like making moves that like humans like wouldn't really would seem like a mistake.
Yeah.
If you just naively saw a human make it,
Well,
you'd be like that's like a non-standard opening, or like you're like just moving one pawn, one space instead of like like it does things that don't seem like they're gonna be productive.
My
I guess.
point still stands, right? It's being too smart for your own goods, and like not, I mean, if your goal is if you're interested in, pure music theory, then by all means, like play in that field if you can, right? But
I think like I do feel like high level human achievement tends to turn into that, because you're relying on,
well, it's just unrelatable, right?
Yeah. So that's what I mean, where
like it's something that may be studied in a century from now, but like it's funny because in the contemporary environment it was created in, it had I don't want to say no relevance, but it certainly didn't have much of an audience, right? Wasn't celebrated contemporarily, right?
They're kind of like Ulepo with writing, where they're like using algorithms to like generate poems and stuff. I mean, there's people doing this like 100 years ago, and getting kind of crazy results. But so that's sort of what I mean, where I think most people are interested in, I just the main point is just like para activities usually subsume or overtake primary activities. Well, look at the guy that was writing Game of Thrones. Like he became, I feel like he became more interested in secondary activities rather than
like attending conventions, or
well, I mean, he does a lot of that. I mean, he doesn't finish the book, right?
Like
he hasn't finished the story because he's more interested in secondary things related to it. Like, I don't know, producing
smashing groupies.
If he is, or again, like producing TV shows based on, I don't know, minor characters or something. Like, I don't know, he's certainly doing a lot of things, but he's not really doing the primary activity, I guess.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a quite common. I don't call it a trap, maybe, or certainly some kind of.
Well, I mean, it's kind of the rock star that gets consumed by partying.
Yeah, well, they just get more into partying, and they're not really doing what they originally were, I guess, doing.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you like primary activities, I know. I mean, again, the thing that drives people's fundamentally probably pretty simple, right?
Yeah.
Like, in most cases, the primary activity is probably not actually the interest.
It's not really the interest, right? Yeah.
So that turns an uncomfortable magnifying glass on everything I do, but as it should, I suppose.
Why would you say uncomfortable?
Well, I mean, it's just it makes me question, like, do I like what I'm doing, or is this an outlet for some other need fundamentally, right?
Well, it's an important question, man. I mean, that's sort of like, I feel like that is a
you should ask it, right?
Mystical question, I guess. So, like, I feel like if you get into occultism, like real occultism, that's like, that question comes up every step of the way.
Yeah.
It's like, why are you doing this? Like, wouldn't you be happier just doing something else, right? So, like, and I think, like, with a lot of, even like Zen or something, like, they sort of don't let you join that easily. Because they're like, I feel like they're rightly skeptical of people who want to do it, I guess. Because most people don't actually really want to, like, do it.
Sure.
They want to they just want to be happy, right?
Right.
Or their actual goal is like some para activity that is like not what it actually is, right? So every step of the way, it's like, are you sure you're actually focused on like doing this, right? Because it's like pretty. Not only is it hard to do, but it does require kind of like, I don't know, purity of focus or something,
Mm-hmm.
which most people probably don't like have, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how many people are in touch with their will, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Or again, like, is there are are people actually interested in the primary activity they claim to be interested in,
I
right?
don't feel like they are. I mean, I would say most of the time they're using it as a, I don't know, like screen for some other drive or some other motivation,
Mm-hmm.
which isn't the primary activity.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's just my judgment. I mean, I'm not saying it's always true or always the case, but it certainly seems to be true a lot of the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a magical exercise from C.F. Russell where he's like, it's like every day you're supposed to write down if I remember right, it's like what you want to be, not what you want to do. So like people will start out and they'll be like, oh, I want to be a, jazz singer because I love jazz, right? And then, so then the officer will be like, okay, well, can you expand on that? Like can you write about 10 pages about what is this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as a person goes on, they're like, yeah, like I want to be a jazz singer because I want to inspire thousands of people. I want to emotionally connect with them through the, cross-cultural power of music.
Mm-hmm.
I want to perform in front of, hundreds of people so I can reach them directly. So, they're going on very convincingly for, I don't know, 3,000 words or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then the person assessing it is like, well, nothing related to jazz was mentioned in this.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of talk about inspiring people, connecting with people, standing up in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But when you just say jazz is the medium, then
well, so
like
that's
should
that's
the
sort of the
painter
difference.
be
So what they're
obsessed with oil paints?
sorta, yeah.
Sorta.
So again, just the point of the exercise then is like they would say, well, it appears that your will here is to amass self-importance
Mm-hmm.
by being a figure that stands in front of people and provokes a reaction,
Right.
which likely is their actual psychological motivation,
Right.
that they probably weren't aware of or were maybe just concealing, right? So they're like, well, based on this, you're not interested in, your will doesn't appear to be jazz. It appears to be, provoking reactions in people based on public activity, right?
Right. Right.
I mean, it kind of is. So that's sort of the distinction I would say, like where if you're not aware of your actual motivation, it's easy to get sidetracked into like para activities or
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, surrogate activities or whatever you'd call them, I guess. Yeah.
I don't necessarily know if that's really a flaw, though.
Well, but if you're
like to be interested in the actual primary activity is the exception rather than the rule.
It is.
Right?
But if it's like a community of people that are actually interested in the primary activity, then it's sort of like if you're, I guess it's like if you're applying to be an astronaut
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, yeah, like I want to be an astronaut because I want to be a hero to millions of children and inspire them to realize that their dreams are possible. And but like the people doing the assessment are like, well, an astronaut is a scientist that needs to know how to engineer, conditions under like zero, right? So you can't really have that as like at a certain level, you have to actually be like being an astronaut is not really being, you understand what I'm trying to say, right? Like you actually do have to be deeply fixated on, I don't know, engineering tasks related to being an astronaut. Cause like otherwise you're going to probably get people killed or like you're going to have some other, And you know, that's obviously an extreme situation, but at a certain level, like if you have someone in the, I don't know, Zen monastery that thinks they want to be a monk, but they actually want to, I don't know, do some para activity or something. It's sort of like, well, should they be there?
Right.
Because they sort of shouldn't, right?
Right.
So
right.
it's not, I mean, okay, like they're maybe not going to get people killed because they don't know how to, I don't know, fix space shuttles or something. But there's also that same sense in which should they then be there? Because if they're not actually focused on the primary activity, then
well, yeah, I mean, if it's an activity where there is a committee that's gatekeeping it, then the answer is no.
Yeah.
But you know, anyone can learn to be a jazz musician, basically, right?
Well,
and if that's a proxy for you to live out your dreams of influencing people, then
yeah.
is that bad? I don't know.
Well, I wouldn't say it's bad, but I think most of the people that are actually like breaking ground or like doing important things, like they are interested in the primary activity rather than like para activities, which seems like kind of a trap, I guess. Yeah.
Shall we leave it there?
Could probably finish up. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Any plugs? Any neo-passeism?
We'll try to. Is this episode 47? I think 47. Yeah, we'll try to. I still want to get some big ones for 49 and 50. Well, next week's gonna be 48,
49, and we'll be 49, 48.
Yeah.
48. Yeah. But yeah, we're gonna have Rami and Nick back on.
We'll try to get a few people more for 50, maybe.
Debuting 4 mic setup, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll just explain that the first 10 minutes of this episode will become
getting shunted to the.
Yeah, they'll be coming after this. For algorithm reasons, trigger warning, I don't know, suicide and.
Or is that actually going to trigger the algorithm?
It'll trigger the algorithm for sure.
Okay,
we definitely use some naughty words that the algorithm does not like. I don't know if it matters for our podcast for our size, but I'll stick them at the end. So listen to that. You know, if you're psychologically safe, we discuss suicide and other dark themes. So be well out there. Know your limit.
Know your role, as they used to say in the WWE.
Never watched it.
Or WWF, I think. Yeah.
Okay. My question for the Italian brain rot animals thing was, how did they, like, if they're animating these animals in different scenarios, how do they keep them consistent upon re-renders?
I don't know, man. Yeah, I have no idea.
Are the character descriptions in the prompt so consistent that like different people can re-render the same character doing different activities?
Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah, I mean, imagine something like that.
Or is this just like the other angle here? Is this some like information age psyop that like Italy launched on China or something?
Yeah, well, that's what I was wondering. I was like, where's this even coming from? Like, how did they arrive at? I guess they're using, it's like from some language translation software or something.
Oh, no, that was Duolingo, right?
I'm just wondering where they got these particular like sounds or whatever.
Oh, okay. One of them looked like the Duolingo owl, so I'm not sure if that's...
Is that what it's based on? Or
one of them looked like it was the owl from Duolingo, the green owl. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No. Yeah, I'm wondering where did this like come from? Is it just from translation software using Italian or something? Like what?
Yeah, I have no idea. How did this even come up in your algorithm?
I have no idea, man. Yeah, I usually have no idea where most of these things come from, but it's certainly really funny. But Yeah.
Have you played around with any of the video generation stuff?
Nah, not really.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I mentioned one of the chats. Like the new trend I'm seeing is the AI generated cute cat videos.
Well, that seems pretty unexceptional, right? I mean,
Yeah.
people have been posting cat videos for.
But now you don't even have to own the cat, right?
Yeah,
You can just like generate.
And just generate some.
Yeah. I wonder if that's the future of pet ownership. Is just
virtual pets,
Yeah.
Neopets,
Yeah.
Neo-Confucianism. What was Neopets? I always forget what that even is.
You never played it?
No.
Oh man. Okay.
It's just like Pokemon or something.
It was pretty bad, man. It was like the concept is just a home run in terms of like attracting, people who are 9 years old around the time when I was 9 years old. But yeah, it was kind of like Pokemon online, and supposedly they're like games you could play with them, but not really actually. You couldn't really do much with them. Like you had your little like Neopet JPEG thing, and then there were like games that were completely separate from it that didn't even involve your pet. I feel like the more evolved version of this was Webkins, but you probably don't even know what that is, right?
This is all just happening on a site, or like what?
Yeah, it was like a website.
You just log in and you can like see what it's doing or whatever.
Well, Neopets was super janky. It was like just like bare bones HTML was kind of like the functionality of the app.
Okay,
right? Like there was no animation. Like there was some little pet icon that you could buy clothing for, but yeah, like Webkins was a bit more evolved in that it was kind of they did what's called the TY. What were those Beanie Babies? TY Beanie Babies?
TY.
Do you not know what this is either?
No.
Oh, wild.
I mean, I know what Beanie Babies are, but I don't have like specifics of.
Well, I think TY is the company behind it, right? I remember they always had that tag with TY.
Okay, yeah. I never had any, but I just remember they were around. But
yeah, I think I had like one or something, but nothing spectacular. But so yeah, like Webkins came like, I don't know, almost a decade later, and it was the same model of like you can purchase the physical like stuffed animal that looks a certain way, but then there's also a code that you like punch into the website. And now you have a little virtual home, and you can buy virtual furniture, and you have your virtual pet running around, and you could actually like play games with it and see the virtual pet do stuff. So it actually like it was what like Neopets was like supposed to be or something, but it was just like a decade later. So I think already
kind of the same thing.
Teens at that point, which didn't stop me from playing it, but
I wonder if that's like what AI like. I feel like it's what doesn't seem that different from what people are using it for now, other than it's just like text or voice.
Wait, using AI for?
Yeah.
For what? Webkins, basically, or?
Well, I mean, just using it as anything other than like a, I don't know, glorified search tool.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're using it to like have conversations or something, it just seems like Neopets or something, like sort of, right? I mean, doesn't seem terribly different.
Well, what I'm strictly against is like giving your AI a name.
Well, I mean, people do, right?
People do, yeah. But
so this is what I mean. It seems kind of like Neopets or something. Yeah.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, there's. I kind of want to get into this next week. We'll have Nick and Rami on. What do you think about that AI discussion matchup?
Could, yeah. I mean, we don't have to really
stick
talk
to
about that, I guess. I don't feel like there's hugely much to say. I mean, maybe both of them would have more to say, but it doesn't. Again, I just, for like things I'm interested in, I don't really see it overlapping with that much, I guess.
Yeah. So maybe I'll bring it up next week as well then. But did you hear about like the case of, I don't know, some 9-year-old or something killed himself over AI chat tool type thing?
What happened?
So
just
he's using some like
yeah.
characters AI type thing where it's this like role play chatbot.
Yeah.
And he basically asked it to be, I believe, Daenerys Targaryen
Okay, yeah.
from
Yeah.
Game of Thrones,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, Daenerys, I believe. But yeah, like the particular exchange was like at some point he said like I'm going to come home to you, and the AI chatbot is like yeah please do, right? And I don't know,
He just committed
that was
suicide.
to join the AI.
9-year-old.
I don't know how old he was. We can look it up, but it was some kid. Now there's like a lawsuit over it.
It's like a small child though. That's really weird. Like
like tween, whatever that age group is called.
yeah, but it doesn't really. I mean, what like if it's like a really little kid, like if it's like a under 10-year-old kid. I mean, it's kind of. I mean, it's weird that they'd be like watching Game of Thrones anyway. I guess. I mean, it doesn't seem like a particularly
14-year-old.
Oh, it's a teenager.
Yeah,
okay, yeah,
but still, right?
Teenagers, like 14-year-olds, kill themselves over stupid things anyway, right?
If not that, then something else.
Well, yeah. I mean, they kill themselves over, I don't know, like heavy metal or something, right? Or they used to blame like, what is the things that are blaming for these like they blame like Dungeons and Dragons or something. Like I remember that used to be, like, you know that used to be like hugely controversial, right?
Dungeons and
Dragons.
Why?
Well, because it was allegedly like people thought that it was like allegedly this like satanic, like
I was like some like a recruiting tool or something.
Yeah, they thought it was like there's this like. Have you heard of this satanic panic?
Yeah.
Well, that was like sort of overlapping where
that was like Charles Manson.
No, it was later. Satanic panic was in the 80s, and like people, like for various reasons, people suddenly started getting very serious about the idea that there was like some like Satanist conspiracy. There was like super active, and they thought it was like in like everything. So they thought that there were like satanic, like, I don't know, daycare centers where like little kids were like, I don't know, doing rituals and like being molested and like, so they thought that this like extended into like almost literally anything you could, I don't know, come up with. So like random records, like, I mean, of course, like, metal albums, but like even just normal, like, I don't know, Rod Stewart or something. Like people would be like, oh, if you put it, like if you play this backwards a certain way.
Did the Stairway to Heaven Led Zeppelin backwards?
Well, that was one.
That was one of them.
But they were like they literally tried to apply this to like, I don't know, like Rod Stewart or like, I don't know, like Phil Collins or something. Like just very like super like inoffensive music.
How long did this last?
Like
a few years, or
at least like, I mean, kind of like most of the 80s, right?
Oh, really?
So
it's pretty drawn out.
Yeah, well, and there was like real lawsuits, and like people were like facing jail time, and like psychiatrists were like coming out with like allegedly, I don't know, like repressed memories, and like, so there's this, I mean, it's really complicated. It like went on for a really long time. And it was basically just like mass hysteria.
Right.
But yeah, so one of the things that was like really at the forefront of this was Dungeons and Dragons for some reason. And like, I don't even know why. I mean, I've never played Dungeons and Dragons. I have no, this is why I wanted to get Andrew on here. 'Cause I guess he actually like creates, like he'd probably have some insight in this, but like I've personally never played it. I have like zero interest in it.
I played the video game version of it.
Well, I mean, yeah, but it's a video game, right?
But like same mechanics basically.
I guess, but I mean, this is like,
but the mechanics don't matter. It's more the setup.
This is like, I don't know how you could possibly. I mean, it seems like the most, especially like in the, I don't know, 70s and 80s, like this seems like the most inoffensive. Like it just seems like people sitting around a table and making up basically like a, I don't know, Lord of the Rings kind of
Basically
story.
what it is, yeah.
So like how you would ever connect that with, I don't know, like underground satanic conspiracies and
But
child abuse and
what was the whole thing just a media frenzy type thing?
well, yeah, I mean
Like it was completely manufactured,
it was
right?
completely manufactured, but it was
What was the instant that kicked it off? Do you know?
I don't know if there's like one incident, man. I mean, it's just like there's this like ambient idea. Well, kind of like people have equally stupid ideas now
Mm.
that have like no basis in like I don't know either fact or evidence, but they're like coming out with these
That people didn't exist and are completely
conspiratorial ideas about things which are have no real evidence for them or so that was like one of the huge ones, and like people were like there's like TV specials about it, like is it satanic or is it like I don't know, leading kids to like commit suicide or like I don't know, do occult rituals or drugs or something. Like there's all these like alleged dangers that it would you know lead to
yeah. So
like yeah, I mean I don't know, 14-year-olds are like pretty emotionally unstable sometimes, so like I don't know if there's anything really to be read into that besides that, I guess.
Kind of in this vein, and by the way,
look this up a little bit. Yeah,
what a way to kick off an episode. This is absolutely the algorithm is gonna hide this, bury this. Yeah, but anyway, episode title, trigger warning. And okay, so have you heard of the blue whale challenge?
Blue whale, no.
So it was like it was pretty recent in the last few years. I think kind of maybe mid-COVID time, but it was some like.
Sorry to interrupt here. No. Yeah, I guess there is some Dungeons and Dragons suicide.
Okay.
Thing that that was.
I wonder if this is similar to like the Avatar depression thing. Did you hear about that one?
Avatar.
It's like people. There's this phenomena of people getting depressed after going to see the original James Cameron Avatar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they realize that their life will never be as exciting as that world.
What?
Yeah, they
want. Real?
Yeah, this is real. This is real.
I thought that was the most boring movie, man. Like I can't imagine how anyone would think that was exciting.
I mean, the thing that still messes me up is the fact that they have sex with their ponytail tendril things, right?
Okay,
They plug them into each other to like have sex, but then they also plug that into the like pterodactyl thing, right? The horse type thing that they ride. That's how they control it. So I don't know. Is that like bestiality? Like I'm a little
right.
I'm a little confused what's happening here. But hey, not my universe. Not my.
So there was apparently there was a few cases of people that like teenagers that like committed suicide, and they're like saying it was because of Dungeons and Dragons or something. So yeah, there's this whole like moral panic at the time. It was like linked. I mean, again, it seems so like weirdly, I don't know, harmless or something. It's like, what I mean, it seems like about on the level of like, I don't know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or something. Like, or like any of these. I mean, it's just something that's targeted at mostly kids. It's
Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah, I mean, it's
not really targeted for kids. I'd say it's pretty adult overall.
A few, but I mean, I think most of the consumers are probably up to about, I don't know, university age or something. It doesn't seem. I mean, I'm not saying there's not adults that did it because they did, but
I feel like it's like graduate student territory. I feel like that was kind of the target demographic.
Yeah,
I mean, when I was playing it through this game called Neverwinter Nights.
Okay,
and I do remember feeling way too young for that game.
Way too young? Okay.
Well, just like in terms of complexity of the mechanism, right?
Yeah.
Like it certainly did not cater towards kids. It was pretty you know.
Well, yeah, but there's still like pretty it's like something that you could imagine, I don't know, like high school students would
it's like
be
Lord of the Rings, right?
would be doing.
Yeah.
But it seems like weird to attribute it this like sinister, I don't know, like moral significance or something. But people did. So
well, it's basically a witch hunt, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting. I mean, so even the sort of panic response within an individual, it's kind of interesting to observe how it comes up, because there is like some ambient anxiety that starts looking for a target.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you fixate on some unpleasant aspect, and you create this feedback loop of this is what's causing this feeling. But the feeling's actually just ambient, right? It's some like, I don't know, autonomic kind of response or something.
Response or something. Yeah.
Like adrenaline got dumped for whatever reason, and now you're latching on to some external sort of symptom. And so, like, yeah, I guess the Salem witch trials were probably in this vein, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. COVID, anti-vaxxer panic, probably on this spectrum as well. Getting very into the weeds here.
But yeah, I mean, so all this stuff was
panic.
But I mean, they had like video game panics in the 90s too. Like, especially like Mortal Kombat. Like, that was a huge thing too. There was like, it was like getting into the Senate, and like people were trying to change, like pass laws about it, and like,
that this is like too violent to.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it was constantly like, I mean, they're blaming it for like real world violence. They're blaming it for or like Doom.
I remember that one.
Like, there was a huge outcry against that as well.
That was like tied into Columbine as well, right?
Yeah, well, that was another huge one, and that's another bizarre. Like, that Columbine is another bizarre. Like, so many people, so many things got blamed for that just had like nothing to do with it. Like, it was just like like music, and I don't know, just all kinds of art, like culture, and really, really strange. That was so the 90s were like full of these like weird. I almost feel like in like legacy media there were like more moral panics. Like, I guess,
I feel like anything goes at this point, right?
Well, yeah. So but it is weird if you like go back and watch some of this material, because they're like reacting to things that seem completely, I don't know, inconsequential now,
like just Nirvana or something.
Yeah, or
right?
or like Dungeons and Dragons or something.
Zeppelin.
Like Led Zeppelin. I mean, it's such like a weird.
Have you ever listened to Stairway to Heaven backwards?
Yeah, but
isn't it kind of weird?
But it's pretty.
You think it's just?
I think it's just
what's that called? Where you see the human faces?
Oh, pareidolia. Yeah, I just feel like it's all it is, man. I mean, I don't think, like, I think you can interpret things, like you can interpret random sounds like any number of ways. So, but certainly people are putting huge amounts of time and resources into doing stuff like that.
So what was actually going on of consequence during that time? Iran Contra scandal.
There's tons of
CIA running crack into major
tons of, like,
American cities.
There's tons of like real world crazy things happening, and people were fixating on, like, I don't know, Dungeons and Dragons. Like, it's a little bit silly, right?
It's almost like manufactured, right?
Yeah.
Do you think could you believe that? Or
I don't know how much they needed to even manufacture. I mean, like, I think a lot of these things just arise by themselves and get pretty. I mean, you could argue they certainly used it as like a smokescreen for a lot of genuinely evil things that were happening politically. But I think governments have always kind of done that. So.
Well, yeah, government loves a scapegoat.
Yeah,
right?
So I don't know how unique that is, but it is kind of weird to think about it now, because it seems so, like, I don't know, innocent or something. Like, like people were really losing their shit over just like random music or like literally board games. I mean, it's such a weird thing to get threatened by.
Yeah.
But people were. So.
All right. Well, yeah. Thanks, everyone. Have a good week.